And we're here for round one of the Legacy Daily event with Paul Lynch's Grixis control deck. We're on the play. Let's take a look at our opening hand. Well, we got a lot of manipulation. Brainstorm is usually pretty good with, when you're having a mana-heavy draw, especially if you have, a fetch land to go along with any of your other ones. We're going to keep it since we're on the play. There's no chance for us to get our Brainstorm Thought seized. We're not going to cast on turn 1. I don't think I want to cast Gataxian Probe yet. I can usually figure out what he's going to be on by his first few land drops. And we want to save Gataxian Probe in this deck to trigger Young Pyromancer if we can help it. If we're under pressure at some point and we have Gataxian Probe, we may need to burn it to try to find an answer to whatever our opponent is playing. Well, Delver. That's a Delver. Now we need to draw bolts pretty quickly. That thing is going to deal us a lot of damage. I would guess that he's playing the Grixis Delver deck that actually won the Open last weekend. Alright, well, force pitching Brainstorm. That's pretty good. I don't mind him casting a Daze here on our Deathrite Shaman. And I actually would think that he would pitch Daze instead of Brainstorm. I could be wrong. But we get our Deathrite into play. Next turn, we'll probably cycle one, if not both, of the Gataxian Probes. Probably paying mana for at least the first one. Alright, bolting our guy. Not having another land. That's important to note. Alright, well, we drew Force. It's not really a great draw. From the way he forced so quickly, he might actually have another Force. Alright, nope. Got Pyro, Ponder, Brainstorm, Gurmag. Okay, well, I guess we're going to Cabal Therapy him, and we're going to name Young Pyromancer. And we're doing this because if he draws a land and casts Pyromancer, we could be in a lot of trouble. He needs a fetch land to cast Gurmag Angler. I guess he could also ponder into a fetch land and then Angler, but then we can almost certainly force it. But I didn't really want to. I guess maybe it was better to actually take Gurmag Angler instead of Young Pyromancer, but it looks like he's not going to cast it anyway. Well, maybe he is. Well, he's down to 2 cards. We're going to be down to 1 card, but one of his is a Brainstorm. I apologize for being so sniffly, by the way. My allergies are kicking my butt. Alright, let's draw a Dig Through Time or something good. Nope. Alright, well, looks like we're just going to get beaten to death by this insect since we can't draw an answer to it. And our Brainstorm got Force Willed, which was pretty gross, honestly. If he knew our hand, then I think it was the right play, obviously, but it's pretty dangerous against like another fair deck. But I guess he didn't necessarily know we were a fair deck. Don't really have a whole lot going on over here. Deathrite. Alright. Let's see if he shuffles or keeps the top 3. And he chose to shuffle. Must have had like 2 lands sitting in the top 3. Well, Jace ain't bad. Well, if we can play Jace, bounce Insect, and then Deathrite doesn't, or can't attack and kill the Jace, so next turn we actually get to brainstorm with it. We're going to go get Trop, just in case we end up needing it in a few turns. If we get Deathrite Shaman into play, we can fight his. Hopefully next turn we like brainstorm into a Dig Through Time, cast Dig for double Bolt would be great, I guess. We're at effectively 5 life right now though, since the Deathrite can always activate to deal us 2. We could potentially wait for him to, like, he's probably not going to just main phase use Deathrite Shaman to eat Cabal Therapy, because there's a chance that we're playing a deck that has Snapcaster Mage in it, and he wants to try to keep us off of something we can Snapcaster. And that could give us a chance to, if we draw the Dig Through Time, we wait until the end step, but he's just going to go and take the therapy to be safe, which is reasonable. Alright, well, cut, Bolt, alright, that is pretty good. The Deathrite Shaman's not a bad draw here either. Now, we're going to wait and see what he does, and if he plays a threat, we are going to shuffle away our Deathrite Shaman, but if he doesn't play a threat, we'll likely just draw our Deathrite Shaman since it can potentially gain us some life. Now that we got to untap with a Jason Mind Sculptor in play, we are shockingly pulling ahead, drawing an extra card every turn and shuffling away bad ones. Alright, well, no play from him. Well, I guess we'll start with a Brainstorm. I know there's a land on top, but I don't want to be forced to pop this Bloodstained Mire yet. Dak Faden. Alrighty. Not sure this card does a whole lot other than basically just lets me, you know, loot away cards every turn. So it lets me have a virtual shuffle every turn. I guess that's not terrible. The therapy is kind of useless at this point. Most things he's either going to cast when he can, or he's either going to cast them when he draws them, or he's not going to have anything to cast. Like he's just going to have a land. Alright, we don't really want either of the 2 cards on top, so we'll draw 2 and discard them. One of which is a Cabal Therapy, so getting that in the yard's pretty reasonable. And now we have the Jace Brainstorm active, and then the Dak Faden to get rid of the top 2. Alright. Wasteland for a Tropical Island really stinks, actually. Alright, we'll ponder before brain... maybe not. Well, we could actually... Since our Deathrite Shaman... Well, our Deathrite Shaman's actually kind of a clock at this point. But what we could do is bounce Delver, sack Therapy, sack Deathrite to the Therapy, make him discard the Delver, but that seems a lot worse than just pondering first, then we can maybe find another Bolt or something. Alright, Fire Ice is great, Counterspell also great, and the land to do everything is all sweet. Alright, so we'll draw 3. Oh no, I guess we can't do all three. Alright, so we'll shuffle away the land and the other Deathrite Shaman. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, we have the Deathrite. So we'll just go ahead and do fire, one to him, and one to the Delver. And then go ahead and fetch up. We don't want. We're okay going to 4, but we don't want to go to 3. So we actually should have just. Well, I guess we'll just do this now. We might draw a card better than Counterspell, like Dig Through Time. Young Pyromancer are also good. Okay. Well, we don't have any more green lands in our deck, so we can safely exile creatures and lands. Actually, yeah. Sorry. The weird way Deathrite Shaman works is we have to exile and float a mana first. So technically, it's what you have to do in real life, but most people don't play it like that. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Well, I'm fine here just taking Bolt Pyromancer. And be done. A pretty insane turn, not gonna lie. This deck gets out of control if you can dig through time into Jace or just find it naturally, which is what we did. Alright, well, we are not afraid of his Young Pyromancer in the slightest. Here's what we can do. Can actually play Young Pyromancer, bolt him instead of bolting Young Pyromancer. Well, let's brainstorm first, I guess. Alright, well, we don't really want therapy. I guess we're not dig through timing this turn, so we can just put that on top and then play Pyromancer. Oh yeah, I guess we didn't bounce his Pyromancer because we brainstormed, so we have to sequence everything correctly and stop being stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. Basically, I'm so far ahead that I'm just like clicking buttons to try to not use so much time. Target me, I guess. Get rid of this therapy in a land. And battle for 1. Yeah, because my original plan was to bounce Pyromancer, play 1, bolt him, and then therapy it. But then I brainstormed, and yeah, you know what happened. We could have potentially played both Pyromancers and bolted his. That would have given us more tokens. Oh, it would have given us the same amount of tokens, but we would have had 2 more power in play. Potentially ended the game more quickly. Alright. I can't imagine possibly losing, so basically I'm just going to sit on these dig through times and use them to go get Force of Will if I need to. I guess I want to. I already have enough, more than enough actual pressure in play. Alright, so we'll pitch the land. Let's pitch Tasigur. Tasigur might be more useful than Pyromancer number 2, though. There's a brainstorm. Okay, that's not a bad one. There's no reason not to therapy him with the Pyromancer in play, because the token will just, you know, rebuy, basically. We could have played the second one, but again, I want to stress holding up for uh, dig through time into Force of Will, and maybe being able to play around days, depending on what he does here. I am assuming that I'm not going to be able to hit anything, but he's probably brainstorm locking himself anyway, so. So it looked like we had trouble actually closing the game. That's one of the problems with Young Pyromancer, I think. The card's very powerful, but it's kind of slow. Alright, well, what can we do here? We want to make our deck a little lower to the ground, a little more interactive. So we're going to be cutting some of the more clunky, expensive things and bringing in some cards that are powerful and cheap. I think Fork Bolt, Pyroblast, Staticaster are all reasonable against Delver decks. Flusterstorm is okay, but I don't want too many soft counterspells in my deck. Like right now, I'm thinking about cutting Cabal Therapy and Counterspell. Therapy is really good against combo decks, but it's not great against really fast aggro / tempo decks. So I think cutting Counterspell and Therapy is okay. Counterspell is really bad on the draw, but it's not even that good on the play. Dak Faden is just a loot engine, doesn't do a ton. So we're going to get rid of him. I think True Name is fine, especially if with the GT that we are probably going to bring in. GT plus a token on Young Pyromancer is usually really good. Let's see if we want anything else. The Jaces, like it ran away with that game, but usually Jace is not very good, and it's even worse against red versions of Delver after sideboard because they all have Pyroblast. So I think we're going to cut that, and just like Vendilion Click is not as good as Jace, but it costs 1 less mana and is an instant speed, so it really messes with them. So I think cutting a Jace for Vendilion Click is okay. So our post-board games, really what we want to happen is we want to fight over resolving our dig-through times. The Force of Wills are pretty bad when we draw them in multiples, but I think it's worth having them just because we can lose tempo in the early game and just fall apart and die. Maybe that's not true after sideboard when we have access to more removal with Fork Bolt and Pyroblast. Yeah, we'll actually keep one Jason. We'll keep one Jace and cut a Force of Will. After game 2, depending on how it feels, we may actually cut all the Force Wills and bring back in like a Flusterstorm and some other things to interact with his high spell density. Alright, this hand's pretty solid. We want to play around days and stuff as much as possible, especially when Delver decks are on the play. When Delver decks are on the draw, a lot of times they will side out. They'll side out days, but alright, well, I think I'm just gonna force him to use his days now if he has it, and if he doesn't have it, that's good for us. It's possible we want to save it for a Young Pyromancer from him, but alright, well, he just has a second Delver. That's okay. I'm gonna go get a Black Source. If he's playing Stifle, that's gonna be bad for us. I could have played around it, I guess. Not really. Alright, well, hopefully he doesn't flip his Delver. That's pretty bad for us, but we have a lot of mana sources still, so it's not game over, but it does basically time walk us. Looks like he's not flipping. Okay, I guess he did flip. That was weird. Alright, well, we revealed Pyroblast, so we have to make sure we try to play around that if we can. Alright, well, it's a really weird moment where the mana base is glaring, I guess. We are very far behind on board. I can ponder and try to find a bolt, but if I miss, then I can't cast Deathrite Shaman. So what I can do is this turn I can just play my own Young Pyromancer, hope he doesn't have a removal spell or counter spell, and then get to untap, and then, you know, ponder, hopefully find a removal spell, kill a guy, maybe kill both guys if we draw a removal spell naturally. I guess we can't actually do that yet. Now if he has a removal spell, then this is just not a draw we could beat with our draw. Bedillion Cloak looks a little awkward here, as you can see, but at the same time, I'm not sure Jace would have been better, and that was the swap, the last card swap. Helm holding up Pyroblast for the next couple turns is a good and a bad thing. It forces him to hold up mana, but at the same time, we can't really play around it. We basically just have to play our spells. Now he's willing to trade here. I think we should not be willing to trade. Our Deathrite Shaman can actually eat a bunch of his elemental tokens. Alright, we killed the black source, so... Alright, now we gotta figure out what to do. I think we actually have to play that. Cast Ponder. He's probably gonna Pyroblast. We could have probed first, but I think it's probably worth it to pay the 2 life. The tempo swing we get from finding a removal spell here is pretty high. And he has Brainstorm and Volk. Alright, we drew a Bolt, so that's great. So we're just going to kill that, and we're going to play the Pyromancer game, where we both just kind of sit back and play a bunch of stuff. We drew another Young Pyromancer to go along with that Brainstorm, so he may pull ahead here. We are okay with Ponder, Brainstorm, anything like that would be fine. A fetch land for a black source would be great, so we could play Tasigur. Luckily for us, he can't really afford to attack with his Young Pyromancers, since we have these elemental tokens hanging out. Kind of hoping he just Brainstorm locked himself again. That'd be great. Yeah, we are fine trading 2 tokens for 2 tokens, and give me a Fork Bolt off the top one-time dealer. Alright, uncastable, that's also fine. That was a joke, not fine. We're in trouble. Helm resolving that Brainstorm and then being able to probably draw into more spells to cast is pretty bad for us. Suppose there is a small chance that his... Yeah, okay. Well, I was going to say a small chance that his Brainstorm was 3 lands, and if that was the case and he was stuck with 2 lands in his hand, then we could have potentially gotten out of this, but that second Young Pyromancer and him having the Stifle and the Wasteland really put a beating on us. And we don't have Electrickery in our deck, but that would be kind of awesome. Alright, let's see what we draw. Probably gonna get Pyroblasted. Nope. Alright, well these Deathrites aren't really doing anything anymore. I don't think they can... Like, since we can only cast 1 a turn, I think it's better to have all this other stuff. So we are going to fetch Brainstorm Tasigur and hope that he doesn't have... Oh man. That's gross. Well, if we draw a Force off of the... Okay. Alright, well, we're just dead. Our Brainstorm locked. Can't cast a spell. We knew the 2 death rights were there, but we had to hope that there was a force of will like 3rd down. All right, Staticaster would have been really good that game. Forkball would have been really good. We're on the play this game though, which means Stifle is going to be significantly worse against us. Deathrite Shaman is going to be awesome, hopefully. I suppose there is merit to just cutting all the Force of Will since we're on the play. Basically, we're going to have all the tempo on our side, and I think we can maybe just rip his hand apart with therapies, or at the very least, we're just going to play this heavy removal game and then just try to beat him with card advantage. And Therapy and Jace are really good at helping at that. Alright, this hand's great. Again, we're just going to hold on to this Gataxian Probe for a bit. No, I don't see any real reason to cast it right now. Now, if we were afraid of him playing something, like next turn, we can potentially consider using it to figure out what is in his hand and if we need to actually play around anything. But in decks like this, you usually want to save Probe for when you have access to a young Pyromancer. Alright, well he's at 16. Maybe we'll just eat him away with Deathrite Shaman. Now if he points Bolt to Deathrite, I'm pretty happy about that. And what's kind of cool is if he didn't play anything, we could have potentially played a turn 2 Tassiger, because we eat his land, fetch, play a Probe for free. That gives us 3 mana and 3 cards in the graveyard. That would have been kind of cool. Alright, so we will Probe here since we want to see if we have to play around Daze or something like that, or Stifle. So, alright, so he has Daze, Probe, 2 Pyro, DRS, and Delver. So he doesn't have a second land. That's good. But that means that we get to play this Brainstorm. If he wants to daze this to keep us from being able to fetch, then that's fine. Alright, we'll get rid of these 2 lands. We basically want to turn his daze into a dead card this game. We have access to enough mana sources where that is a possibility. Now, it would not be great for us if he just had drawn a land that turn and went Pyromancer and then Probe. Basically, he's going to get 2 tokens. Not a ton we can do about it, but if he casts Delver or Young Pyromancer, we just get to go untap, play our land, you know, play Lightning Bolt on your creature, and then play Tassiger, and we get to have Tassiger versus his board of 1 or 2 tokens. But he didn't draw the land before at least casting the Probe. So now if he just casts Young Pyromancer, then well, he could just go Deathrite Shaman, Delver of Secrets. Wouldn't be all that bad. Now we could have shuffled away. I am okay drawing 1 more land. Oh, I clicked the wrong land. Son of a... Alright, that's my bad. If I end up getting wastelanded here and lose the game because of it, I apologize. That was pretty bad. I don't see a reason here to bolt Delver, but I am pretty sure I'm going to have to bolt something at the end of turn, and I don't want to get dazed. And we don't have Snapcaster, so we're fine just eating away everything that he can exile with Deathrite Shaman and force him to just hit his own graveyard. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to be forced to use Bolt this turn. Right now his hand is Daze, 2 Young Pyromancer, the Ponder, and a random card. The random card was either the draw step, or I guess it was probably the draw step, because he probably used the Gataxian Probe. Alright, well, this is a tough spot. I think we actually want to Pyroblast the Insect, since we can all, like, he's going to be able to go Pyromancer and then play a Ponder regardless of whether or not we have this Bolt at the ready. So we're going to do that now so we don't take 3 damage. Get to untap, Bolt the Pyromancer, as long as we don't get Wastelanded. Because I can't click, I guess. Alright, let's draw Is That Staticaster off the top. That would be great. Yep. Alright, bolt your guy. I guess I don't mind getting some beatdowns on. Huh. I guess we'll Ponder first. Jace, dig, land. Well, the Jace might actually not end up being that bad in a few turns. The dig I could see not being great, and the mountain is not great. Basically the reason why dig is, well, I guess dig actually could be playable next turn pretty easily. If he doesn't main phase his Deathrite or uses it to tap for mana. Huh. Well, I guess no. We would run into Daze at that point. So I think actually we just need to shuffle these 3 away. Brainstorm, Pyromancer is good. Now he is at 12, so I'm okay attacking here. At the most he can attack me for 1, so I think I like this trade-off. If he wants to chump block, I'm also okay with that. That takes away the value he got from his Young Pyromancer. I assumed he would take it. Because he's probably going to play his other Young Pyromancer and then probably play another cantripping type spell to draw another card. Alright, so his hand is Daze and 2 random cards, from what I can remember, because he already played the Ponder. A Brainstorm is a good one. I feel really dumb right now for having 2 Underground Season play. Just really stupid. Yep. Just gonna run away with his Young Pyromancer. Well, we're basically gonna be facing down a Deathrite and 3 tokens, assuming that he doesn't have Force of Will in his deck anymore, which I think is a safe assumption. He hasn't played a land yet though, so he can always go land and another Ponder or something, or another Brainstorm or whatever. Yep. God, I'm so dumb. I just can't click. Just can't click buttons. And Island is the draw. Great. Alright, well. See what we get back. Really needed that second Underground Seed to cast all my black spells. the only downside of just like trying to explain your plays and talk while you're playing is that it just shuts off an entire other part of your brain that's trying to actually think. Or at least it does it for me. Maybe I'm just real dumb. Well, third Young Pyromancer. And probably like third or fourth Brainstormer or Ponder or whatever. A white mana. Fourth Pyromancer. Okay. Well, that's cool. I have no idea. Oh, his last card is still Daze, so any spell I play, he's going to just Daze it to make 3 guys. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and concede. That was real bad. If I had a second red source that game, I don't know if I would have won, but we could have actually been in the game, and now we're just doing nothing and dying, so... anyway, my apologies for that. That was a big misplay, but you know, you at least saw how the deck could operate, and if you have a competent pilot, you can actually do some really cool stuff, unlike me. But that's my B. We're gonna try again next round, and hopefully not play as badly. We'll be right back.